It is Wednesday, my dudes and dudettes, and you are watching The Sweat presented by DraftKings. Jesse Cofield to my left, Emerson Latzia to her right. What is on the menu this morning, young lady?
Yeah, a lot of hard-hitting stuff, like plane etiquette. We're going to have an in-depth conversation about that with the Gojo Gang. A successful betting approach for the Zurich Classic. We're going to get into that. And which teams to back on the diamond and on the ice.
First things first, it is TV's Julian Edlow, DraftKings contributor, is here to dive into tonight's playoff slate. Lakers, Grizz, Heat, Bucks, Timberwolves, Nuggets. But real quick, dude, last night, Celtics topped the Hawks. Cavs crushed the Knicks. Suns get even against LA. Yes, Chris Paul won a playoff game refereed by Scott Foster for the first time since 2013. What was your biggest takeaway from Tuesday's action?
My biggest takeaway from Tuesday's action, well, the Celtics, it feels like, are just way better than the Hawks, so we didn't learn too much there. The Cavs had to respond and win that game 2 at home after dropping game 1, so I don't think we learned a ton there. They've been a really good home team all year. So I think we learned the most in Clippers-Suns. The Clippers, after sneaking out game 1, get off to that 12-point lead, I think it was, in the second quarter, and it's starting to look like, this might be a 2-0 lead for the Clippers going back to LA, and this Phoenix team that was priced as the favorite to win the Western Conference, might be mispriced, which is certainly possible because we have such a small sample size with Kevin Durant playing with that team and with it being mostly against poor teams until they got the Clippers in the postseason here. So I think we learned that the Suns, even with their backs against the wall, were able to respond, but they did it by not playing their bench. So the thing with Phoenix is that there is no depth there. So they cannot afford an injury, and they need their guys to play big minutes every night. Chris Paul played 37. Durant and Booker, I think, were 44 apiece. That team, has it. They have a really tough matchup with the Clippers, but they have the ability to dig deep. But if that team is going to win the West, this is a team where, Durant, Booker, that's going to have to be 42 to 45 minutes a night due to the lack of depth.
All right, well, Draymond Green was suspended for a game after stomping on Domantas Sabonis. How much more difficult is it going to be for the Warriors to beat the Kings without him and trying to avoid falling in this 3-0 hole?
I honestly don't think it's going to be that much more difficult. This should just be a rally game for the Warriors with or without Draymond. And I will say, I've been going back and forth with people on Twitter. Like, I'm not a Draymond guy, but I didn't think this was that bad. Mostly because Sabonis grabbed his leg first while it was running. Was it a little over the top? The kick free? Sure. But like the suspension when it came out, they said it was mostly for the antics and being a repeat offender. So I think if he just keeps his mouth shut and isn't screaming at fans and stuff, the play on the floor doesn't warrant any suspension here, in my opinion. I think what Sabonis did was just as bad. But that's neither here nor there. I think the Warriors can get by without Draymond for one game. This isn't when he missed a finals game against LeBron and the Cavs. This is a home game 2 must-win game against a Kings team that, yes, best ATS team in the NBA on the road. The Warriors are the best team against the spread at home in the NBA. So, down 2-0 in a desperation spot. Yeah, the spread comes down from 7 to 5.5 off the Draymond news. Just fill that role for one night. More minutes for Looney, more small ball, which you can get away with against this Kings team. And Curry and Klay Thompson should have enough offense to pull them through here, and the versatility of Andrew Wiggins. I'm still not worried about the Warriors as it comes to this game, and probably winning both in Golden State and putting a little bit of pressure on the Kings.
Green has some kind of impact on this team, though, Jules, because during the regular season, Warriors had a +7 net rating with him on the floor, -5.2 net rating with him off the floor. So basically they performed like the best team in the league when he played, and then somewhere between the Trailblazers and Hornets when he did not. How would you bet that series, like, really quick? Because you could it be a sweep if you pick exactly 4 games +750, or if you want to go 5 +390 on the DK Sportsbook?
No, if I'm betting the series, honestly, I don't have a strong take on, like, here's one bet, but I would bet the Warriors to win the series at this point in time with the mindset that they're going to win these home games. And when they win these home games, that puts pressure on Sacramento to win at home. I don't think the Warriors necessarily win it, but if you bet them now at plus money and they win both home games, they're going to go right back to the neighborhood that they were before the series. Call it like minus 250. And then you can come back and get the Kings at plus money. So I would just say playing the Warriors to win the series at plus money right now puts you in a good spot if they protect their home floor, and you can come back and bet plus money on the other side, guarantee yourself a profit.
All right, dude, let's rip through tonight's games here quickly. 3 postseason contests on the slate. We'll start with Lakers-Grizzlies game 2. Who's your top DFS play in this one?
Yeah, so I think for this game, a lot of people are going to be looking at Tyus Jones given the status of Ja Morant. But in my opinion, I think Morant's going to play. I don't know how effective he'll be, so I'm looking away there. Then people are going to look at the role players for the Lakers. Reeves, 5,600, went nuts in game 1. Hachimura, 4,500, went nuts in game 1. I'll go away from all of them and go with the leftover guy. That's D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell's $5,800. For some reason, down from $6,800 from game 1, down from $7,700 on April 7th. I don't know why he is down $1,900 over the course of less than 2 weeks here, but he is, and he had 37 DraftKings points in 36 minutes in game 1. I just think D'Angelo Russell is inexplicably cheap, and he'll be less popular due to all the other role players that people are looking at in this game.
Jules, Lakers favored by just 1 in this one. What's your favorite bet here?
So I have the Lakers at plus 120 to win the series, so I'm probably not going to get back invested at this point, but I think laying a game and a half with the Lakers still at this point to win in 6 or less, I think is a pretty good bet. I will say I think Morant's going to play, so this number is going to move. I could see the Lakers closing as 2.5, 3-point underdogs here. If that is the case and you're looking to bet it tonight, it would be Lakers with the points if we do get to that stage or pass.
Jules, as for Heat Bucks, so Giannis officially listed as doubtful now with that lower back contusion. So my guess is you avoid him in DFS. Who are you not avoiding in DFS for this game?
Well, assuming Giannis is out, and this was a downgrade to doubtful, so I'm going to take it for what it's worth and assume he's going to be out. It would be the next man up, and that would be Bobby Portis for me. When Giannis is out, you can argue anybody on the Bucks is going to be a much better play. Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, like all the guys are going to pick up the slack. But the cheapest out of that bunch is Bobby Portis, 5,700. Again, he was 6,000 for game 1. Last game of the regular season with people sitting, he was 8,800. Like D'Angelo Russell, we're getting a huge drop in price here, and if Giannis is out, there's going to be an expanded role. He's going to play over 30 minutes. He averaged over 17 points and 10 boards in games Giannis missed this year. So Portis at 5,700, if Giannis is out, would be the guy. If Giannis plays, you probably look to take advantage of some of those Tyler Hero minutes with a cheap Miami guard.
Bucks minus 6.5-point favorites. What's your best bet in this one?
Yeah, the Bucks really need this game. If Miami wins this game and they're going back home up 2-0, and Giannis's back status is still up in the air, that's tough. But that said, if Giannis is out, I'm probably taking the 6.5 points here. If you wanted to look more long term, I think it's minus 130 or so for plus 1.5 games with the Heat. That means if it gets to a game 7, you cash. So if Giannis were to miss this game and the Heat were to win, or even if it was 1-1 and we knew he maybe wouldn't be right in Miami and they can split those games in Miami, I think that it would be tough for the Bucks to win 4 in a row with Giannis. So I think taking a game and a half still, plus a game and a half with Miami, is a good look on the series. And if Giannis is out, it's points or pass for me on the Miami side.
Jules, let's go Wolves Nuggets. Give me either your favorite bet or favorite DFS play. You take it whatever direction you want.
Well, I don't have much of a betting opinion on the series. Denver I thought the Wolves would keep it close in game 1, and it was not. But again, guys that are dropping in salary for no real reason. Karl Anthony Towns is $7,500. He's a guy that's been, close to 10K at times this season. I don't know why he's so cheap. He had an awful game 1, but it was a blowout. I would expect a bounce back. Karl Anthony Towns is just way too cheap.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Julian.
Thanks,
Coming up next, the Gojo guys are going to join us, but Mike and Mina Kimes, they were at the center of one of the biggest reality TV fiascos in recent history. Here's a taste of what went down on Monday night.
So you and I, Sunday night, as Netflix is getting ready to host just their second live event ever, you got invited by Netflix to come to the live reunion watch party in Los Angeles. So we weren't actually in the studio audience for the reunion itself, but we were with a whole bunch of other reality TV stars and starlets, people that you, in your infinite wisdom of reality television, were just pointing out to me left and right. Was this just Valhalla for you last night?
It really was. There's a Netflix show called Perfect Match that's kind of like the Netflix reality all-stars, and that's what it felt like. Although most of the people from Perfect Match were also there, so I guess that's a little redundant. But for those who are listening and watch any of these shows, Love is Blind, Too Hot to Handle, The Ultimatum, or The Bachelor, which is not a Netflix show, but there were some Bachelor contestants there. It really was a who's who of the reality dating world. Just Love is Blind alone, previous seasons, rattling off some of the names. Most of them were there, frankly. Deepti, Natalie, Iyanna, Mallory. We talked a little bit to Cole, who people might remember from the Zeneb Cuties fiasco. It was pretty jam-packed, which Cole, or Brennan, rather, and Alexa were there together. He's very tall. And that kind of made it fun because not only did we get to kind of, hobnob with them, but you got to see their reactions in real time to the reunion because the crowd was raucous and the crowd had a lot of emotions.
It was wild, and because we had the delay built in, so you and I were in this bunker here, and we tweeted out the picture from that beforehand, which meant that as soon as things went sideways, we became everyone's go-to mole source on the inside, trying to act like we had any inkling of what was going on more so than most. I have to imagine your phone in particular was ready to melt. Yeah,
so I posted a photo of us, and then when 5 o'clock Pacific hit, there you have the goblet with you. We got goblets. And it hadn't started. I was getting a lot of questions like, what's happening? What are you hearing? What is going on? And while we didn't have any intel, I guess after about an hour and 20 minutes or so, so it was posted by Chloe from Too Hot to Handle / Perfect Match. And, she announced to the crowd that the live feed was not happening. This was unbeknownst to us, really. America was freaking out. The world was losing their mind because this live feed wasn't happening. There was also a very exciting NBA game happening at the same time. And she came up and told us that they were going to proceed with the taping and we would be able to watch it, but it wouldn't actually hit the Netflix servers. So because of that, in a very, very serious tone, we were told, you're watching this, but you cannot post about it. You cannot reveal things that have happened because we don't know when other people are going to get to watch this. And let me tell you, they were looking at our phones. Like there was security people walking up and down a very, very intimidating, like 8-foot tall security man. Kind of got in the way a little bit. No big deal. Of my line of sight to the TV. It was like a big screen. They were looking at us to make sure we weren't posting about the reunion. So I felt very nervous about having my phone taken away.
All right, you got to go listen to their entire conversation right now from Tuesday's episode of The Gojo Show, which you can find wherever you get your favorite podcasts, like The Gojo Show. And you also tune in to this program every Wednesday morning because that's when Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman join us. Good morning, gentlemen. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. Always better when I'm with you guys.
Yep. Brandon, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I see we're starting off lying. Mike, I apologize for that fib.
Wow.
Mike,
wow.
Yeah,
you don't know my
what's
life.
going on?
How do you get to tell me how I feel about Emerson and Jesse? I don't think you... I understand we're close and we work together, everybody. You don't get to tell me that I'm not excited to be by them.
I know, but I just know your happy places, and it's usually not here. But okay. But
Yeah, that's fair.
What the hell's going on right now?
It's his work happy place, but it's different than your real
So
happy
you don't
place.
like hanging out with us on Wednesdays?
I do. I love it.
He doesn't?
So you're saying I don't love it then. You're saying you can love it, but for some reason I can't love it. That's where we've gotten in this point.
My my life is a lot more average than yours is, so this excites me. I don't know what it does.
Wow.
For you.
Yeah, speaking of that, though, Mike does have a very exciting life because he
Jesse getting us back on the rails for we
Yeah.
all break up.
Yeah,
And you're never back
I
here on
know,
Wednesday
I know.
again.
The boys are fighting. We gotta just okay.
Yeah,
no,
but
stop fighting. I hate it when people fight.
Okay, Mom. All right.
Sorry.
We did just hear you, Mike, talking and chatting up me at times about you two being at this Love is Blind live reunion, which didn't end up being live. Twitter was rioting. What about everyone at this Netflix watch party?
So the Netflix watch party was interesting because after a while, I think a lot of the people in the room, and who was in the room, you asked, glad you did, it was former contestants from Love is Blind in prior seasons, got to talk to Cole of the famous cuties scandal, saw Nancy there who was broke up with Bartice and was living her best life in that room. Plenty of people from different shows like Perfect Match. There were even some old Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants in there. They all seemed to forget what we were there for at a certain point because there was an open bar and I saw the Too Hot to Handle crew all taking shots over near there. There were some snacks being handed out. Actually, I know we were talking in the break about the Anthony Bass popcorn plane fiasco.
Yeah.
There was popcorn served here. I was not forced to get on my hands and knees and pick it up when I spilled it on the ground. And so all of that was going on to distract us in the room. But at a certain point, we did all look around about an hour in and realize, oh, we probably need to get this show on the road. Like, I do have to wake up and do work tomorrow.
Yeah, things are starting to fall apart, right? So it's like celebrities, influencers, they're updating their fans about like what's going on, and you were like tweeting a picture of a ring pop. So
I mean, they were listen, I haven't had a ring pop in forever. I understood the obvious tie-in.
Yeah.
They also served little desserts. It was almost like tiramisu that had little candy rings on top too. So they were leaning all the way in. They had a theme, they had a plan. That plan just failed at the most critical juncture.
yeah, somebody probably was relieved of their position after that.
I mean, hell, you brought up the Anthony Bass thing.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead
Let's
and just
jump in.
dive into that, like right now, especially since you're fresh off having some popcorn there, Mike. So he called out
We
United.
should start with like, you know, people who have children.
Okay, does that mean you want to ask this question?
Well, I'm just saying, and I'm
Okay.
talking about human children. I'm saying Brandon has human children.
Wow.
Yes,
getting
and then
sex
that- and I
shamed
was
this
gonna-
early in the morning. I wasn't
Emerson-
expecting this.
And Emerson was getting ready to tee that question up for Mike. Yes.
Yeah, I know.
No,
so
no.
I'm stepping in for Brandon.
No,
and saying,
I was going to step in and ask Brandon. I just was finishing up
Okay.
my question with Mike, who doesn't like being on the show on Wednesdays, apparently. So, yeah, I'm going to start with you, Brandon, because I know how excited you are to be here, and you have children. So, Anthony Bass calls out United for making his pregnant wife clean up the popcorn her two kids spilled. Now, are we getting the entire story here? I don't know. We were talking about it off air, all of us. Put yourself in his shoes. He's not even there. Like, I guess when you read this situation and you see everything that's going on, what was your reaction to this as a father of two? Like, do you make your kids pick it up?
I think there's definitely part of the story that we're not hearing, as Mike alluded to. But as a parent who has traveled with a 2-year-old, all bets are off. Whatever you can do to get these kids to be accommodable to the people paying a lot of money to be on this space Airbus, I think you have to do it. But also, when things go awry, there should be some grace given to the parents as well as the children. And that's what I think is missing from United. United doesn't seem to have enough grace to deal with children and all the things that come along with it, like picking up snacks, like messes, like things that aren't supposed to be where they're supposed to be. And there's plenty of trash that you can put right in front of you in those little holders, those little net holders in the seats. And I think someone should have stepped up and just picked the little piece popcorn corners and put them in the basket. But outside of that, I do think that Anthony Bass's wife, mother of his children, may have been a little bit testy, because I can't really see a flight attendant out of nowhere telling a paying patron that they need to pick up popcorn. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so here's my take on this as the only person here who's actually been pregnant. So what I'll say is this. First of all, let's go to the fact that airlines nowadays you are paying so much money. They bake in, like, if you want to select your seat, that's extra money. If you want to literally do anything, check a bag, you got to pay extra money. So we're paying a ton of money. There is a cleaning crew that has to get onto every single plane after it comes into the gate. They've got to send the cleaning crew on. They've got little vacuums.
They got little
they've
dust
got everything.
busters.
Now, I'm not saying that means you can just treat the plane like a garbage can, but as someone who has flown alone with one child, this woman, he wasn't there. She was flying alone with 2 toddlers. Also, she was pregnant. And as someone who has been pregnant, I can tell you that sometimes things are fine. And then sometimes, like, if you spill a little water on yourself, you're just going to start hysterically crying. So, like, you know, and then being asked by the flight attendant, even if, this is my point, even if the flight attendant had just like handed her a little trash bag and been like, hey, when you get a chance, you know, just pick up that popcorn. If you're pregnant and already at your wit's end, flying with 2 children, she very well could have just had a mental breakdown. I'm not saying that's what happened because I wasn't there, but I could see her just being like, texting her husband and being like, and then they told me I had to clean up the popcorn like a peasant on the floor.
No. As the only person here with the wife, I will say.
With a wife? I have a wife?
Hey, say this
What
Emerson
the hell's
erasure
going
here.
on?
Okay, I know.
Should we leave, Emerson? Do you want to just go hang out?
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let me say this. When you get a call from your wife who has children that you are a part of making, you take heed to those complaints to the umpteenth degree. You take whatever energy she gives you and you put it out to your followers. And that's what I think that tweet was. She was very upset. And Anthony Bass was like, I have to let the world know my wife was upset about something that happened on a plane.
Yeah, and I bet she got home and he was like, that's horrifying. Like, tell me exactly what they said. And she was like, well, she's like, now that I'm remembering it, perhaps I was not asked to get on my hands and knees and clean up every damn piece of popcorn. Like, they were probably like, oh yeah, here's a garbage bag. And like, I'm sure if she had been like, you know what, like I'm actually 22 weeks pregnant and like there's a lot, like I'm sure it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. At the same time, I do understand why she might have just been like at her wit's end. So I kind of feel like this is the middle ground of like, if it had been something like a truly, I saw the picture, like there's popcorn on the floor. It doesn't look like someone upended a massive,
the kids look disgusting,
family-sized popcorn person. I'm just saying, I can see it in both perspectives. That being said, what is the worst flight etiquette case that you've witnessed on a plane? Because I can tell you, I would rather get on my hands and knees and clean up a plane's worth of popcorn than be anywhere near someone who's taken off their shoes on an airplane.
Oh my God, Mike. Yeah, what do you think?
So yeah, bare feet person who's gonna put them up on, like when they put them up on the seat in front of them or put them up on the handrest somewhere where it's almost like in hockey where you get high sticking. We had that show up in the overtime of that Oilers game the other night. It's high feeding. If you're gonna take off your shoes for like a little breather, I've done it before, you keep them underneath. You keep them hidden in shame. You make sure it's not clear and obvious.
You've taken your shoes off.
That's disgusting, dude. You smell that crap when you do it, dude.
Yeah, I don't take them off for very long. And you know what? No, you don't.
Yes,
the plane
you
is
do.
literally a giant metal tube that we're all trapped in. It's like walking into an apartment building. You smell everything everywhere all at once. My feet are not the only thing you're smelling. You're probably smelling these dirty kids that were behind there covered in popcorn and God knows what. So don't blame my feet just because I want to air out the piggies for a little bit during the flight if I do it respectfully. That's the difference. This is like the Draymond Green suspension rule where everyone, you gotta, when you're traveling, not make things clear and obvious. If you're gonna leak a fart, you can't make it clear and obvious. If you're gonna take off your shoes, you can't make it clear and obvious. If you spill some stuff, keep it in your little section. Like Brandon said, hide it in the trash bin in front of you. And yes, that pouch is officially a trash bin. You've got to be a gentleman and keep things respectfully out of sight. It's like playing dirty in sports. You can't let everyone see your business if you're gonna act foul.
You can't.
Brandon seems fine.
Even
Brandon
if it's like
seems fine
really
with shoes
subtle,
off.
like a little lean. There are 3 places you can't fart. You can't fart in the plane. You can't fart in the elevator. You can't fart in the sauna.
Brandon just seems like Brandon's cool with shoes off.
Listen, I'll say this. People fart on airplanes all the time. I am not one of those people because I am not a terrorist. But I am completely fine with taking my shoes off on the airplane. My piggies swell at altitude, so I think that's a desired thing that I need personally. But the worst thing that's ever happened to me on the airplane was there was a lady sitting next to me, right in the middle, throwing up in one of those little bags that are handed out to you specifically for gum. And then after she's throwing up, reaches over into the bag.
Yes.
The bag and gets my bag. Throws up more and then puts that back in front of me.
No.
There's no way nope.
Domestic terrorism.
She should have been arrested for a crime.
That's when you ring the button.
I couldn't find the air marshal.
Ring the button, hammer the button.
So I will say, for me personally, it's just don't be this person. I'm like a smaller woman, right? So anytime I sit on a plane, if I'm sitting next to a dude, they just take the armrest. Their knees are going into my space.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like I don't need that armrest. Like, is it kind of annoying? Sure. But I'm not gonna fight over the armrest. I don't need it. But then it's like their elbows over the armrest.
Yeah, they're sitting on your lap.
Right, I'm like, if you want the armrest, take it. I'm not gonna fight you for it. I am small, I don't need all this extra space. But when you start to then, your elbow is touching my ribs because you're like,
hey,
that is where.
That's like man spreading, but up top.
Man spreading, and more dudes do it than I think they do.
Yeah, fellas, we don't need to act bigger than we are on the airplanes. There's a delicate ecosystem that we're all a part of.
Yeah,
here.
you two are huge.
People. I'm gonna say, listen, to speak for the beef contingency on this one, yes, I'm gonna take up more space in the row. My knees are already digging into the seat in front of me more often than not. I need a little extra shoulder space. But that being said, you can't abuse that privilege. We're all working together. It's like being at the blackjack table. We're all teammates against the house. And in this case, we're all teammates against the airline trying to get where we go while getting price gouged, like Jesse said.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we have burnt through our entire segment.
Yeah.
Talking about playing.
Obviously.
And honestly, this was phenomenal. This was great television.
Yeah.
Take that, Jared Carabas, Dolphin people.
Yeah.
No, you can't open up that can right now. We have to go. Matt is literally yelling in our ear. We need to go.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. My Gojo Rose of the Week. No, I'm joking.
Yo, DraftKings, y'all got the most ways to bet on NBA players. I'm hyped. Hitting props, that's my dog. Stack up buckets, blocks, and boards on my boy? Or superstar going one-on-one against another superstar? Oh, it's on. And all these bets are on my man's dedicated page? Now you spoiling me, DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet $5 to win $150 in bonus bets on your team to win. Action's so good, why bet anywhere else? That's my move. He used my move.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
This season, DraftKings Sportsbook is your place to bet on the greatest sport on ice. There's so many ways to get closer to the game. And with this latest offer, you can win big. Now that is deserving of some victory stick taps.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and take advantage of this great offer.
And get in on the action with an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
With DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports, you can play for millions with a lineup full of big NBA stars. Maybe you throw in a three-point specialist that's been around the league, seen a thing or two. You know, if you want. Download DraftKings and play for your share of millions. Action's so good, why play NBA anywhere else?
All right. If you or a loved one, our friend Anadu of NHL.com tweeting this last night, if you or a loved one has been personally victimized by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs, you may be entitled to financial compensation. What an absolute embarrassment that was by the Maple Leafs last night. There's no letter grade below an F. If there was, Toronto would have earned it on Tuesday night. How else Pete Jensen of NHL.com, are you supposed to assess a loss like that and break down a loss like that?
Yeah, I mean, the cobwebs were there. We know the history of the Maple Leafs not winning a Stanley Cup playoff series since 2004. So it came back to haunt them again. Undisciplined play, the Michael Bunting play, the list goes on, giving Tampa two-man advantages. I mean, what was going on right there? So for a guy like me that has picked Toronto in the past, come back to bite him. Last year I picked Tampa and kind of regretted it for most of the series, but then they came back to bail you out. I went back to the well with Toronto, not feeling too good right now at all. And you see their power play was operating well, but again, the discipline is first and foremost, and the goaltending advantage once again, whether it was Campbell last year against Tampa or Samsonov this year, it's a distinct disadvantage going up against Vasilevsky in a 7-game series, right?
For sure, Pete. Like the Lightning had 3 separate losing streaks of 4 games or more after the All-Star break, yet they looked dominant as hell in that victory. 7-3 win over Toronto.
Yeah, and I mean, Rangers, Devils 5-1, Jets, Golden Knights 5-1.
Yeah.
A lot of teams kind of getting blown out here, Pete.
Right. I picked the Jets to beat the Golden Knights, but I was surprised by the result considering that Mark Stone came back from injury for the first game of the postseason after being out for a couple of months. So, yeah, Vegas it's strange, right? They won the Western Conference, a franchise record in regular season wins, but I still think that team has some roster flaws. It was good to see Winnipeg showcase its offensive form, a big bounce back game from Blake Wheeler, who had a really underwhelming regular season, one of his worst in the past decade, but really came back with a bang here in the postseason. And then Seattle Kraken, man. I mean, are you kidding me, right? Expansion team from 2 years ago, knocking off the defending champion Colorado Avalanche in Game 1. I mean, it just shows how fickle, unpredictable the Stanley Cup playoffs can be from a betting standpoint, fantasy pools and DFS. It's such a thrill to watch, and you can never count out those underdogs any given night.
And I thought Jack Eichel's long-awaited playoff debut. What a wet fart. That was just such a disappointment. No points, a -3 rating, won only a third of his faceoffs too, and that 5-1 loss to the Jets. Just, yeah, the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is exceptional year in and year out, whether it becomes storylines or just these epic marathon games. Should be a good time. Let's get into tonight's slate. What do we got? 4 games on the menu, Ben.
Yeah, 4 game 2s. So let's talk DFS. Pete, which center are you going to be rostering?
So Connor McDavid obviously has had an historic regular season and only went without a point in consecutive games one time in the entire regular season. So certainly some bounce back appeal for Edmonton, whether you're looking to stack him with a guy like Evander Kane that's in the middle price range, or someone deeper down the line. I like Evan Bouchard in particular, who has a 3-game goal streak. But I think you need to roster Connor McDavid to hang with the pack here, just in case they go crazy and he has a 4-point game, which is very likely. He's had a bunch of multi-point games this season in response to going held without a point. So to answer your question, it's Connor McDavid, and then I'm filling out the rest of my lineup with some value and spending up on defense. So excited to get to that as well.
Okay, cool. So then what's the move then at wing?
I think a good value play in DFS right now is Gus Nyquist for the Minnesota Wild. I would expect a response from the Dallas Stars in Game 2, but the guy's got 6 points in his first 4 games, including the tail end of the regular season with the Minnesota Wild. He's playing in the top 6 role, getting some power play time, only $3,800. And again, sneaky deadline acquisitions. You see it across the league with different guys that are paying big dividends, right? Korpisalo for the LA Kings, Bertuzzi for the Boston Bruins. That's another guy that you could try to ride the hot hand with here as the Bruins look to open up a 2-0 series lead. But yeah, Gus Nyquist for the sneaky Minnesota Wild is a really nice play and a hidden gem for a cheap price.
All right, Pete, let's talk defense. You just mentioned it's going to be a spend-up spot for you.
Right. Evan Bouchard is underpriced. Like I said, $4,400 for how good he's been, 20 points in 22 games since Tyson Barrie went away in the trade for Matthias Ekholm. But I also really like, if you're going to spend up, Miro Heiskanen He was top 3 in the NHL in both points and also assists in the regular season. Actually, top 5 in points, but still pretty darn good for Dallas and their power play quarterback and stuff like that. And again, after a disappointing double overtime loss in game number 1, the series opener, I expect Heiskanen to be heavily involved, even if Joe Pavelski doesn't play in that game. That would be a big loss. That was an injury blow in game 1 for Dallas, but Heiskanen played like 40-something minutes in game 1 and is tied for 6th, I believe, in ice time in the regular season. So he's a workhorse.
All right, Pete, your job here is done. We appreciate it. So Islanders fans will be dialed into their game against the Hurricanes tonight. We got Mets fans dialed into their series finale against the Dodgers. That will be this afternoon, 3:10 Eastern time. The faces, by the way, will be completely familiar Wednesday afternoon. It's just the uniforms that will look a little out of place. So the Mets sending right-hander Max Scherzer to the mound in a rare midweek game in LA. Dodgers are going to counter with righty Noah Syndergaard. Again, final game of a 3-game series here.
Yeah, so facing his former team, he dodged him twice in 2022. He was with the
dip, dodge, and
just
dip and dodge.
He was just not about that life. So now let's bring in Gary and Thorne. Gary, what do you think of this matchup?
Gary Bear, you're muted. Gary Bear, come on. I know you're busy. You're getting ready to move to a new place. You bought a condo. Get it together.
Do you want to roster one of these guys as your DFS pitcher?
I don't.
Oh,
Good.
Really.
Good.
I will say Syndergaard's probably underpriced. He's been a lot better than his surface stats suggest so far this season. He's got like an 8.5 strikeout to walk ratio. That's elite. He's just run into a little bit of bad luck in terms of his BABIP and his strand rate. So still kind of holding out a little bit of hope that the Dodgers can work their Dodgers magic and fix Noah Syndergaard, although his fastball velocity isn't coming back. He's not going to throw 99, 98 like when he was Thor back in his New York days. But I do think he's underpriced. At the same time, don't necessarily love having him go up against this very talented Mets lineup.
All right, dude. DFS hitter.
Yeah, let's go with Paul Goldschmidt. I think Paul Goldschmidt is in a fantastic spot in this slate. He's going up against Madison Bumgarner, who at this point is just completely washed. Bumgarner has an expected ERA of 8.56. He's got more walks than strikeouts so far this season, 11 walks, 8 strikeouts. And while Goldschmidt hasn't gotten to face all that many left-handed pitchers so far this season, the Cardinals in general have seemed to really avoid left-handed pitching, which has been one of the reasons they've struggled so much. Last season when he was National League MVP, had a .411 batting average and a .266 WRC plus against Southpaws. Anytime you get Paul Goldschmidt for less than 6K against a, let's just face it, bad left-handed pitcher like Madison Bumgarner is at this point in his career, I think you have to use Goldschmidt.
All right, you said you think he's a little underpriced. Good value there. What about a super value? Where are you looking?
Connor Joe, you can basically just pick and choose which Pirates cheap bat you want to toss into a lineup. It's kind of worked all week. There were some weather concerns last night about this game at Coors Field. It seems like those are no longer super pressing. It seems like this game's going to get in. And Joe's been fantastic since coming to the Pirates. Limited sample size, but he's hitting .310. Specifically against left-handed pitching, he's got a 196 WRC plus within the split. It's only 18 plate appearances, but this is what he was brought to Pittsburgh to do, was to be a platoon bat. They had so many left-handed batters last season having to face left-handed pitching. That's not the case anymore. And then Austin Gomber, you've just got another underwhelming southpaw taking the mound today. Gomber's ERA up above 8 so far this season. He has not pitched well at Coors Field this year. He has not really pitched well at Coors Field ever, as you would expect. He is a pitch-to-contact pitcher who's seen his ground ball rates plummet the last few seasons. That's just not the way you want to pitch in the altitude in Colorado. I think he's in big trouble today. And I think Joe, who is consistently bat 5th for the Pirates against left-handed pitching this season, is underpriced by a few $100s.
All right, well, let's head home here as we cover the bases. Let's also poke over to the DK Sportsbook here, Gary Bear. Give me your best bet right now.
Yeah, let's go back to that Mets-Dodgers game. I just think the Mets on the money line is a really, really nice price. They're only minus 130, despite the fact that they have the clear pitching matchup advantage. And look, like I said, Syndergaard's been a little unlucky. Scherzer's been a little underwhelming so far this season, but it's Max Scherzer. Heck, it's down to minus 120 at this point. I just think the Mets are going to win this game pretty handily. The Dodgers are also not really the Dodgers right now. You think Mookie Betts got placed on the paternity list last night. It's unclear if he's going to be activated in time for this game. I would doubt it. Chris Taylor is banged up. He hasn't been in the lineup for the last couple of days. Obviously, they had to put Will Smith on the 7-day IL because of a concussion issue. This Dodgers lineup looks pretty underwhelming and bad if you were just to stare at it and not be told it was the Dodgers lineup. I think the Mets are the better team right now. I think Scherzer is obviously the better pitcher. So at that price point, I think it's a really nice buying opportunity.
All right, we have time for extra bases, Garion. So you got a prop, maybe a future, anything else you want to mention on the sportsbook?
Yeah, first game of the day, actually. So first pitch in a little less than an hour. You've got Drew Rasmussen going up against the Cincinnati Reds. Rasmussen's outs recorded prop is set at 17.5, and it's at plus money. I have no idea how this is happening. Rasmussen is coming off a relatively poor start against the Blue Jays, but the Reds are not the Blue Jays. And Rasmussen was fantastic his first 2 outings of the season, pitching at least 6 innings in both of those games, not allowing a run in either of those games. The Reds have the 25th WRC plus in baseball, just 88. Like, this is a pretty bad offensive team. Rasmussen is a very good pitcher. Consistently, he works deep into games. I think it's pretty likely that he is going to go at least 6 innings in this contest. So at plus money to record at least 18 outs, I think that's really tempting.
All right, Gary Bear, thanks for the help. We will catch up with you a little later because right now we got to wrap up this show on the links. After a few big tournaments in a row, we got the PGA Tour firing up a team event, Zurich Classic, beautiful TPC, Louisiana. There are a boatload of alligators crawling all over the links here. Yes, there's a 3-legged alligator on this course. That's pretty famous. Only team event on the official schedule. Nice little change of pace to recharge the batteries here before the final push towards the final 3 majors and FedEx Cup playoffs. You right now are looking at the top 5 teams in terms of odds on the DraftKings Sportsbook, in terms of salaries over on DraftKings. And RotoWire's Len Hochberg, the Action Network's Jason Sobel are here to help us out with a little DFS, with a little bit of a betting preview here. And Jason, your betting approach to a unique team event like this, what is it? Because I noticed in one of your articles you did point out an interesting trend.
Yeah, so Emerson, it's going to be a light week for me. As we've seen since this event became a 2-man event in 2017, we've seen the odds shorten for the winners every single year, from 100 to 1 that first year to 9 to 1 for Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, who won last year. What it seems to me is that the bigger names are figuring things out. And if we have a differential of, say, this much between a superstar and an average PGA Tour player in a regular stroke play event, we have a differential that multiplies. It's this much between 2 PGA Tour superstars and 2, let's say, average PGA Tour players. And we do have Schauffele and Cantlay going at it again this week. It's really hard for me to bet on them at plus 300, but it's even harder for me to fade them. Therefore, a light week for me where I'll be on them, even though I don't like the number.
Len, what's the strategy in DFS?
Well, Jesse, the most important thing to know is that you can only pick one of the 2 golfers, and it doesn't matter. If you have a protest vote and do not want to align yourself with Patrick Cantlay for whatever reason this week, just go with Xander Schauffele. If you want to take Alex Fitzpatrick instead of Matt Fitzpatrick, it does not matter. Other than that, the winning score last year, 29 under, 25 under probably or more. You have to go super low. So you need to make a lot of putts. So in my estimation, you need at least 1 putter in each team, 1 really good putter, and 2 is even better, and 1 good iron player. And if you can get 2 of each, like with Schauffele and Cantlay, even better. But you're going to have to figure out a way to go low, and you're going to have to make putts.
Well, speaking of Schauffele and Cantlay, Len, what kind of argument can you make to maybe fading these guys? They both just had top 15s at the Masters, top 5s at Harbor Town, but maybe they're running out of gas after those two big events.
Yeah, I think that would be the argument, and it was what Jason, mentioned that. Yeah, they're their class of the field. They're probably the two best golfers in the field, and they're on the same team. But the price is prohibitive, or the odds are short. So that would be a vote against it. And yeah, you bring up a good point. They've been playing a lot. A lot of these guys. This would have been a week for a lot of the top names who play the designated events to take a week off. And it may not hamper them this week. I'm very interested to see what happens this season later in the summer, the dog days of August. I know that's normally baseball, but come the Open Championship and the playoffs, I'm wondering if some of these, superstar players are going to be a bit gassed. But if you really want to stay away from the 6,000s, and there really are some unknown and little-known golfers down there, then you can avoid Cantlay and Schauffele and try and get a more balanced approach.
Yeah, Jason, they're plus 300 on the sports book. You mentioned you don't like their outright price. Would you bet them another way, or just a total stay away spot for you?
No, I'd still take them at plus 300. I said I don't like it. I didn't say I wouldn't play it. So I do like them. Jesse, if I'm going to give you a few other teams, look, if you just say, look, Patrick Cantlay's too slow for me. I don't want to be on that side. I can't bet a number that's short in golf, which I completely understand. If you want some other names, I'll give you a few other names here. Siwoo Kim and Tom Kim playing together. They actually beat Cantlay and Schauffele in Saturday 4-balls at the President's Cup back in September. So I do like them. How about Kurt Kitayama and Taylor Montgomery, a couple guys with some offensive firepower. They played a lot of golf together out in Las Vegas where they live. I like that. David Lipsky and Aaron Rye played very well together. Everyone thinks about the 4-ball format in this, which is essentially best ball. You take the best score for the two players on each hole. But the second and fourth rounds of this are alternate shot. Alternate shot matters just as much, if not more, in this event. Those two guys have very like-minded games. I can see them playing well together once again. And a bigger long shot, Eric Cole and Sam Saunders, a couple of guys from right down the road from me in Orlando who played a ton of golf together over the years, finally get a chance to team up in this event for the first time.
Hey, Jay, Matty Fitzpatrick here winning the RBC last week. He's right back at it. He's teaming up with his brother Alex. It would be such a cool story if they were able to pull this thing out. They're plus 3,500 outright, which would help his brother Alex earn his PGA Tour card. It doesn't appear he's much of a slouch, Jay. He just finished T9 the European Challenge Tour in his last start. Here, how much interest do you have in this duo?
Yeah, Alex is a solid player. Played at Wake Forest, very good collegiate player. He's since turned professional, as you mentioned. That said, for most of the guys this week, this is a member. Mm-hmm. If you think about it like your local club event. For these guys, it's a member guest. Alex Fitzpatrick is not a member of the PGA Tour, and so he's there basically on his brother's resume. His brother got to invite him just like you would for the member guest. I don't know about you. I have a brother. If my brother and I are playing golf together, it's not going to go very well, and we're going to have some screaming matches at some point. So it seems like they get along pretty well. They're complete opposites. Look, I won't take anything away from Matt Fitzpatrick, who, of course, won in a playoff over Jordan Spieth last week, but not my favorite team, especially at that number.
Hey, Len, too much of a wild card for you to back in DFS?
I think so. I'm with Jason and seemingly everybody. It would be a wonderful story if they could play well together. But Alex is just not of the level of a lot of the guys in the field just yet. I think Matt, he seems like a good bloke, and maybe avoid little disharmony at the Thanksgiving dinner table if he didn't take Alex. So let's enjoy it for what it is, and we'll see if they make it to the weekend.
Jason, you just mentioned a couple long shot, low price teams. Any other ones you like this week?
Yeah, looking at my list, I can give you Joel Damon and Denny McCarthy, another couple of guys who Damon's very good tee to green, McCarthy very good on the greens, as we know. And then I'll throw in a complete long shot here. Harry Higgs and Austin Smotherman played some college golf together at SMU. One more, not quite a long shot, but think about the team of Harris English and Tom Hoagie. There's only one other event. It's an unofficial event. That's a team event on the PGA Tour schedule. That's the QBE Shootout. Harris English has won it 3 times. Tom Hoagie is one of the defending champions. They haven't played together in this type of format before, but they've at least won in team events in the past.
All right, Len, what do you think? Any dark horses you're liking this week?
Yeah, you know what really jumped out at me was Ben On and S.H. Kim at 7,100, and over at the sportsbook, 30-1. 7,100 and 30-1 do not jibe. 7,100 is normally about 100-1. 30-1 is normally about a $9,000 golfer. So I think that 7,100 is a great price. Both of these guys have been playing well all year. S.H. Kim, top 20 in putting. Not the great iron player that I'm really looking for, but Ben On better than average statistically in strokes gained approach. Both coming off very good weeks at the Valero. Ben On was 6th and S.H. Kim was 15th. And if you really, really want a deep dive, if you're going to pay up for Cantlay and Schauffele, you're going to have to go the other way. 6,200, Cameron Percy and Greg Chalmers. They're both nearly 50 years old. These guys are Aussies. They've known each other probably most of their lives. Chalmers doesn't play much anymore, but a great putter. And Percy's a top 20 putter this week. I think these guys, they played together twice in this format before, made the cut both times. I think these guys are just going to smart their way around the golf course, presumably for 4 days, in my estimation.
Gentlemen, it is time to do that thing we like, time to dish out who you are picking to win this week's tournament, the Zurich Classic. Jason, you're up.
Yeah, much like the confused kid in the kindergarten classroom, I'm going to eat a bunch of chalk this week. I don't like the number, but nobody's better in this field than the defending champion, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, and it'll be a very short card for me.
Oh, man. Okay. All right, Len?
Yeah, I'm going to go. Look, Cantlay and Schauffele are the chalkiest of chalk that maybe we'll see all year on the PGA Tour. But Sam Burns and Billy Horschel play this tournament great. They were 4th 2 years ago, 2nd to Cantlay and Schauffele last year. Sam Burns is playing great. They have a really good price. They're about 5 teams ahead of them, presumably because Billy Horschel has not been great this year. But I think he's going to find his comfort level at this course. He's played well as a single. He's played well as a double. And Burns, as we know, is elite.
All right, good stuff, guys. That is going to do it. We appreciate the help as always. All right, that's a show, everybody. The Sweat will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Madden starts at noon, and then the Slate, you're hosting again this evening at 5 p.m.
That's right, with Nick Fryer and Jeff Orr. We'll dive more into the Zurich Classic and other fun stuff, I'm sure. It'll go way off the rails as usual.
All right, see you tomorrow.